There is a moment at work that I remember very clearly. Not when I received an offer, not when I was praised in front of a meeting room. It was a late afternoon, the kind when Slack is still buzzing even though everyone's battery is already drained. A project had gone off track. The client was getting heated, and in the internal chat channel, people started saying things. No one mentioned any names, but everyone knew exactly who they were referring to. You know that feeling. Your heart beats a little faster. Your shoulders tense up. In your mind, a high-speed movie starts playing. If I don't reply immediately, what will they think? If I do reply, will I seem defensive? If I stay silent, will I look weak? I see two types of people in moments like that. The first type reacts as if they must win within 30 seconds. They explain, they justify, they throw in more data, they pull out history from 3 months ago to defend themselves. From the outside, it looks very proactive, but the air in the room gets hotter. One rushed reply leads to another rushed reply, and soon the team is no longer working on the problem, but on emotions. The second type does something very small, but it completely changes the rhythm of the room. They read, they pause, they ask a short question, like, is this stuck because of the data or because of expectations? Or they say something that sounds ordinary. Give me 10 minutes to review the timeline and I'll respond clearly. They don't appear cold. They don't act emotionally superior. They simply don't get pulled along. And strangely, the second person is often not the most technically skilled, not the most eloquent, not the one with the most sprint wins. But a few months later, when you look at the org chart, they're in a position the whole team reports through. In the US, there's a vague term people use: executive presence. It sounds like you need a sharp suit, a deep voice, and strong public speaking skills. But the core of it is rarely on the surface. It lies in a very quiet skill. The ability to hold yourself when everything around you is pulling you away from yourself. Promotion, if you look at it honestly, is not a reward for hard work. It's a bet. Your manager and the people above them are betting that if they give you more responsibility, you won't create more volatility. You won't turn a tense situation into prolonged drama. So you won't make already heavy meetings feel like places where people must walk on eggshells to avoid triggering you. It sounds harsh, but this is something many technically strong people run into. They get the work done, but they make the environment around them hard to breathe in. And no one says this directly in a performance review. It shows up in vague phrases like, needs to be more collaborative, work on communication, sometimes comes across as intense. Behind those phrases is a very human question. When things go wrong, does this person make everything calmer or more shaken? If you work in a high-pressure environment, you know what shaken feels like. It's the 10:47 p.m. message. Are we good for tomorrow? It's waking up and instinctively checking email. It's entering a meeting already wearing emotional armor. And in such environments, calmness is often misunderstood. Many people think calmness means suppressing, enduring, letting others walk over you. No. The kind of calmness people trust is not silent submission. It is intentional self-control. It is seeing the unreasonable, hearing the disrespect, recognizing the unfairness, but not letting your body enter instinctive counterattack mode. You choose to respond instead of react. There is a subtle difference here. Reaction often comes from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of losing face, fear of being overlooked, fear of not being good enough. Response comes from position. I am here. I understand what's happening, and I decide the next step. If you pay attention, the people who rise are not always the tough ones. They are the ones who can create a sense of safety in unsafe situations. When a meeting starts drifting, they bring it back. When someone makes a sarcastic remark, they don't return sarcasm to balance it out. They name the issue in language that doesn't pour gasoline on the fire. They are like a thermostat, not a thermometer. A thermometer reflects the temperature. A thermostat adjusts it. And this is more practical than you think. It connects directly to money, deadlines, churn, legal risk, and the fact that a talented employee might quit simply because they can't handle the emotional energy in the team. Someone who can keep emotional rhythm steady is quietly saving the company costs. No spreadsheet line says saved emotional cost, but everyone feels it. I once worked with a colleague like this. In a cross-functional meeting, someone from another team bluntly dismissed his proposal. Should you know the kind of dismissal? No debate, just, that won't work. The room went quiet for a beat, because everyone was waiting to see how he would respond. Many others would have immediately started defending themselves, voice rising, words sharpening. He simply looked up, not smiling, not upset, and said, "Okay, tell me what assumption makes you say that." Then he sat and listened. No interrupting, no rushing to regain control through speed. In the end, the other person revealed they had misunderstood the project scope. The room exhaled. No one won. But one person was seen as someone who could lead. After the meeting, I heard a manager say quietly, "He's steady." Just 2 words. But in the workplace, those 2 words can be worth more than a perfect slide deck. If you grew up in an environment where you had to protect yourself by reacting quickly, this will feel difficult. Some people grew up where silence meant losing, where the loudest person won. And then you bring that model into a corporate meeting room, where the rules are very different. In workplaces, especially in large US organizations, someone who explodes at the right moment may be seen as passionate, but someone who explodes frequently will be seen as a risk, and risks are rarely given more power. The trap is this: when you feel tense, you easily believe speed is strength. Reply immediately, clarify immediately, correct immediately. But in many situations, speed is just anxiety wearing the mask of productivity. One of the biggest shifts I've seen in people who move up is that they start using the pause as a tool, not to manipulate, but to protect the quality of their decisions. They have the habit of writing a reply and not sending it yet. They reread and ask themselves, is this solving the problem or releasing emotion? They have the habit of getting a glass of water before a difficult conversation just to let their body shift state. They have the habit of replying with questions that bring the conversation back to reality. What is our ultimate goal here? Who needs what information? Am I trying to be right or trying to be effective? These questions do not make you weak. They make you precise. And in toxic environments, calmness becomes a boundary. Not the kind that says, "I don't care," but the kind that says, "I will not let others determine my heartbeat." There are people who live by pulling you into reaction. They drop a vague remark, then wait for you to flare up so they have a story. They write emails CCing half the company, using a professional tone but subtly assigning blame, hoping you will respond emotionally so they can say, "See, they're difficult." In those situations, calmness is strategy. You can choose not to play their game. You can reply briefly, clearly, sticking to facts. You can change the channel. "Let's take this offline." You can politely ask for clarity. "To make sure I understand, are you asking for A or B?" And if necessary, you can document everything, not for revenge, but to protect yourself with facts. Calmness does not make you an easy target. Calmness, done right, makes you hard to manipulate. And here is the most important part, and the part that often brings relief. You do not need to feel calm to behave calmly. You may be shaking, you may be tired, you may be irritated, but you can still choose the next action. No one between 25 and 50, juggling work, bills, health, family, is always zen. That's not real. What's real is that you can build a very small delay between stimulus and response, just a little. But that little shift changes the trajectory. A message makes you heat up. You read it, you put the phone down, you exhale a little longer, you come back and write. It seems we may be misaligned on expectations. What outcome are you looking for so I can align? That sentence is not submissive. It's you taking back the steering wheel. And when you do this enough times, what you create is not just an image of calmness. You create a very specific feeling for others. Working with you requires less energy. In a world where everyone is overloaded, requires less energy is a superpower. People will want you near important work because you don't make things more chaotic. They will pull you into sensitive meetings because you don't make them explode. They will give you leadership not because you speak loudly, but because you keep the rhythm. If you are at a stage where you feel you must constantly prove yourself, I want you to try a different, very practical thought. Promotion is not only about what you can do, it is also about how others feel when they are around you. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to pretend you have no emotions. You only need to stop letting emotions drive in decisive moments. Even today, if you are tense and overthinking in an environment that keeps you on guard, you don't need to fix your entire life overnight. You only need to remember one small but very real right. You have the right not to reply immediately. You have the right to ask for time to think. You have the right to choose respectful words, even when others are not respectful. You have the right to keep calmness as an advantage, not a sacrifice. And when you start living by that right, you will notice something strange. Your mind feels lighter. Not because the work is less pressured, but because you no longer add pressure through rushed reactions. You are still ambitious. You still want to grow. But you are no longer dragged around every time a small, stressful signal appears on the screen. You are there, clear, steady. And in organizations where everything changes constantly, people like that are often the ones chosen. Not because they are perfect, but because they are reliable on imperfect days. Calm people do not win because they are smarter. They win because they do not lose their strength. If you are learning how to stay calm in a noisy world, this video is for you. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the channel. We will meet again in the next stories. Thank you for spending your time listening and allowing me to be with you for the past few minutes. Rest well. Tomorrow is a new day. I wish you peace and happiness.